Howdy. Welcome back to One Rental at a Time. Mike, I actually had a question for you. That's why I took over your channel here real quick. I was watching your update this morning, like I do every day. I'm glad you've figured out that the Fridays and Saturdays that you're taking off, because you should, that's what retiring early is all about, you do on Sundays. Like they
Right.
still come out. I still get that information. But this morning you were talking about the California Dream for All program.
Hmm.
Not the name, but the program that we basically talked about 6 months and a year ago. Matt, the lumberjack landlord, was in on that
Yeah.
conversation, talking about, first lenders are going to say, here's some adjustable rates. And then in order to save the average person, the government is going to come out with programs to help you get on the property ladder, which are going to pour fire or pour alcohol on the fire because
Yeah.
we have a limited supply and they're going to increase demand. And actually, I don't know if I actually feel like a bad person about this, but it sucks that we're going to benefit so much from
Yeah.
something that is, pardon my language, going to screw over so many people. What are your thoughts on this? Like, let's go a deeper dive into that.
Yeah. Again, one of the things we do on this channel is I try to look into the crystal ball. I try to look around the corner and see things into the future. And oh, by the way, I make calls, right? I put dates on stuff. I do all of these things just, you know, frankly, I think it's fun and entertaining for me. I'm right a lot, I'm wrong a lot. This is one that I knew was coming, like with every fiber of my body. And we talked about this, I don't know, August, September, October. And we did it in a conversation when we were talking about what were we afraid of in 2023, right? Because the housing market doesn't stop at the end of the year. So I saw, a split government, right? At this time, the Republicans had won the Senate or the House or whatever it is. It's split government. I knew there was very little that they could agree on. But one of the things I knew they could agree on was housing, right? Specifically, first time homebuyers. And I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. I think it is wonderful to help first time homebuyers. I think getting on the property ladder in the 70s set my family apart thanks to their service in the military with the GI Bill and those things. So a huge proponent, huge proponent. Um, but they can be done right and can be done wrong. So what we talked about is I was afraid that they would create a program that essentially let people get into housing with no skin in the game. And the reason that was fearful for me is because I've been doing this for over 20 years. And what really caused the pain, the last year of stupidity in '06. '06 was the year of stupidity. Was, people doing 103% loans, doing piggyback loans, basically no skin in the game. And I say this as somebody who repeatedly declined tenant applications because of credit or income or something else, who called my property manager and thanked them. This happened more than once. A tenant I declined called back all giddy because they bought a home. I want you to think about that. A landlord said no because of some reason, but then they bought a home repeatedly. That's how bad 2006 was. And of course, we all know how it ended. That was where my history was. So the government's going to be divided, nothing they're going to agree on. Housing is one. What's the best way to get people in? No down payment, no skin in the game. That was a fear. Now, I want to show you California Dream for All. I want to show you the graphic that they have on their website, and I want to ask you what you see. You ready?
Go for it.
All right, this is directly from their site. I am not making this up. Can I get this out of the way and show you? Yeah, here we go. Right here in the upper corner, calhffa.ca.gov/dream, blah, blah, blah. So you can see this, right, Dion?
Yes.
So here's the example. On what hopefully is your left, there's a home bought for 500 grand. There's a $400,000 first, which is 80%. Makes sense. Then there is a loan from Dream for All for 20%. Nowhere in this picture is down payment or equity from the homeowner. It's not there. This is zero skin in the game. With me?
Yes.
5 years later, this home goes up to 640 grand. There is $140,000 in appreciation. The homeowner's share of that 140 is 112 or 80%. Dream for All gets 20%. Seems fair. Home gets sold for 640. The first gets paid back because you paid down some interest. Dream for All gets their money back, their 100K plus their 28K. The homeowner gets to keep 142 grand. So I ask you, how many how many first-time home buyers are not going to run to get into a home for zero down and YOLO life and maybe get 80% of the. No, that's an infinite return. Infinite. You have zero money in the game. You can roll the dice and get it. Worst case, walk away, foreclose. That's what this is. 06 nonsense all over again. Now, I'm sure there's some criteria and some other stuff, but this picture freaks me out because it is exactly what I was afraid of in October. Tell me what you see.
Well, I see two things missing.
Okay.
The first, the homeowner has no skin in the game. And so the thing that's missing is what happens if the property loses value, right? In 06 and 07, like now in the last 3 years, everybody says real estate can only go up. They're all calling for a crash, but it's not coming. But let's hypothetically game theory it. What if the price drops 20%? Is the Dream for All going to compensate the person how much they're losing, how much debt they're going to owe on that loss if they have to sell? And the second thing is, their pretty little spreadsheet that says the homeowner is going to make 112,000. They could sell their house for free. Like, does Dream also provide the agents on buying that are just going to not have any commission or closing costs or anything like that?
It's absolutely.
So it's pretty numbers on a pretty chart to try to get people to come in to buy something for free. And I'll actually admit, I'm one of the reasons that the 2008 housing crash happened. Mm-hmm. I had basically a zero down payment on a home that I later refinanced for more. Owner occupied, right? And refinanced for more, so that when it went underwater, I was over levered beyond where I should be with an adjustable rate mortgage on a house that had then lost value. Like, that's what we're setting people up for. And as a buy and hold investor who's buying rentals, I don't care if prices are flat. I don't care if prices drop 20%. I'm buying for cash flow. But the home buyer that's buying a place to live, that's then going to sit. If this goes flat or loses value and they have no skin in the game, and you can rent cheaper or you can buy cheaper or something changes in the future, you're going to have people walking away with that. What do they call those foreclosures where you did it on intentionally?
Cash for keys. No, strategic default.
Strategic default, right? Exactly. I knew I could trust your brain for that. But people will just say, hey, it makes more sense for me to lose this to the bank.
Yeah.
And then the taxpayer providing the money for Dream for All is the one who's going to cover that.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was afraid of. So again, there's all that downside, and but here's the problem. This is being rolled out today. It's technically, I think, March or April 1st, so it's 4 days away or what. So it's really soon. But it's being rolled out in today's housing market. In today's housing market, what is one part of the housing market that doesn't need more demand?
I don't think any of it needs more demand right now. There's no supply.
Yeah, I would say the first-time home buyer, entry-level, affordable home, whatever you want to call it. Folks, when you look at the market, and, depending on how you follow, some people are talking about 3 months of supply and all of this stuff. I simply ask you to draw a line at the median home price. Folks like Lance Lambert from Fortune, Logan from Housing Wire, Sacramento Appraiser, I'm skipping his name at the moment. It is Ryan Lundquist. They've all done this after we've communicated. And if you're under the median, you're at a month or less supply in every market I've looked at. If you are above the median, it's closer to 3 months. There's not one market, even in a market, In today's market, because the housing market is so broken, the entry level or first time home, I have followers on my channel that do the work every day that have screamed, I'm talking bold letters or caps. Nothing has been in my buy box for 3 weeks, 5 weeks. The entry
I
level home doesn't need demand. All this is going to do is create demand. Where's the supply?
Right. I had Matt, the lumberjack landlord, on my members only live stream the other day to review his, in his buy box, what there is available. And there were 6 properties that he's been looking at for months.
The same 6.
The same 6, right? And so, I mean, 2 things. I totally get the idea of wanting to encourage and assist first-time homebuyers. I mean, the
I love it.
statistics
It's
play
awesome.
out that it's so much better. The economic information is out there. If you retire at the normal age of 65, whatever that is for most people, and you were a homeowner, your average net worth is $221,000, and if you're a renter, your average net worth is $6,800. So it's like a huge reason to want to help people do this. And programs come out like this because the average person thinks that we want to fight the hedge fund investors, fight the investors, and we want to help the first-time homebuyer by increasing demand like this, completely ignoring the fact that the largest group of homebuyers for the last 2 years has been millennials. Mm-hmm. They were 37% 2 years ago, and then last year they represented 43%. So the first-time homebuyer is already the largest chunk of the people buying houses. What we need is building incentives. Mm-hmm. You had the lady from Canada on the other day that was talking about how she's building because it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Even rehabbing a house doesn't make sense, or buying a house doesn't make sense, but building one does. So we need regulations, permitting strategies, and she was talking, their process to get started before you move a teaspoon of dirt was $50,000 in permitting fees.
That's crazy.
That's the barrier to people getting started in building. If we can find a way, because the saying is, everyone says this, and I always kind of disagree. I take that contrarian view that Matt would call me out on. Everyone says, buy real estate. They're not making any more of it. Well, they might not be making any more dirt, but take an air flight, an airplane trip across the U.S., and you look out the window and you see how much vacant land there is. Mm-hmm. And some cities are trying to build up too much instead of out. But if we can get more builds, more homes built, I think that is the better solution to housing than saying, first, every November, let's raise how much you can buy with FHA. Let's lower the debt to income ratio requirement. Let's lower the credit score requirement. Let's make it easier to get into home ownership to where you don't even have to save a down payment. So the person who can't save a down payment, that needs the Dream for All loan, is going to magically have money to replace a water heater, fix a foundation issue, replace the roof, cycle through all their windows. I mean, all of the things it takes to own a house, because this looks better than renting.
Yeah. And then again, let's go back to, again, people can go back. We have receipts on this channel, as I like to say. This was a fear of mine. It's coming. But this is kind of your opening remarks. You kind of chuckled like, we're going to unfortunately benefit from this. And if people have been following me for more than 6 months, you know that I've told you this was what I saw coming. I saw the government creating artificial demand that's going to take pick a number, 20 homes, 30 homes, whatever it is. It's going to artificially goose them higher in a very short window. Short window in real estate could be a year. They're going to get to an unaffordability number or an affordability number, like I talk about in my first book, One Rental at a Time. They're going to start selling them at the peak. I then won't sell them. I will 1031 them and move them into apartments or multifamily. What have I been telling you is coming in multifamily? Pain. So, like I talked about 6 months ago, I am going to be given a chance to repeat a cycle that I successfully navigated in 2006. Sell homes at the peak because of artificial, stupid demand. Move the money because there's pain in the multifamily market because people overpaid and had bad debt. And I got to tell you, I'm not going to feel bad about it. I told you it was coming. It's the game that's played. And I'm not necessarily happy about it. I mean, I'd love to keep the homes I have. They're fine. But if you're going to artificially goose the demand and you're going to put the price above what I think is reasonable, I will sell. And again, folks, I ask you to get a piece of paper and write down this address: 1818 Norris, Norris Drive, East, 93703. Put that into Zillow. Scroll down to Zillow and watch the, I don't know what it's called, the pricing history. In 2001, I think, I bought the property for 107. That line item is me. I then sold it less than 3 years later for 267. Then 3 years later, that buyer unfortunately lost it for 75 grand. This is the cycle that might, I'm not saying it will, but might repeat if we get a lot of people to buy entry-level homes that simply can't afford them. There's no skin in the game. This is exactly what happened in 06. 103% mortgages. Everybody gets a loan. This, again, my hope is behind this picture is a great, gigantic filter where like only 100 people qualify. If that's the case, my concerns go away because 100 doesn't move the market. But if this filter behind this is wide open and everybody gets a yes answer, I am afraid.
The side effect that, why I'm not going to, pivot from residential into commercial, that's not my strategy, is the appreciation that's going to happen just that fast, right? And like I said at the very beginning, I kind of feel like a bad person. It's kind of like rent control almost passed here in Washington State. And I sat back and said, that's going to triple my revenue. I'm going to make way more money if that goes into effect. I don't want the tenants to suffer what's going to happen if that, and luckily it didn't even make it out of committee. So they protected the tenants. But there are times as an owner, you just benefit from dumb decisions. And a program like this is a dumb decision.
Yeah, folks, if you have details about this that would make me calm down, relax, please share them with me in the comments. I want to feel good about this. I've said many times and will say many more times, getting on the property ladder is amazing. I just want to make sure that the people that get on the property ladder stay on the property ladder. And if you are getting on the property ladder in mass with zero skin in the game, I promise you there will be a lot of people that get kicked off. And getting kicked off the property ladder sucks. So this is a fear. I want to feel better. I want this to be a win, but this is exactly what I thought is coming. And then lastly, this came to California. We won't be last. It might be coming to your state soon. I also expect the federal government to do their thing. They're going to get their nose into this as well. Demand is going up for the entry-level home, and they're not talking about supply. Just a silly decision. Dion, where can people find you?
They can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, and on the interwebs at diontalk.com.
Oh, diontalk.com. Tell me more.
We can cover that in another video if you want. I put together the binder course for people who are wanting to, be able to find cash flowing deals on the MLS, because it's a lot easier to do if your tenants are going to ask you to raise the rent for free. So they can find the course there at diontalk.com/binder. But my last thought on this was the demand, right? Home buyers for a long time, for as long as I can remember, have bought based on payment. They go to the lender and they say, how much can I afford? That's what you're going to borrow. Well, now if you take out the barrier to entry of the down payment, you just completely remove it from the equation. Lenders are going to find a creative way to pitch higher payments, which means higher prices. Again, we're going to benefit from people who shouldn't buy houses being able to.
Yeah. Again, folks, getting on the property ladder is great, but you've got to stay there. You've got to stay there. So, Dion, thank you very much for being a part of this. I want to know more about that free binder course. We're going to do a separate video on it. Thanks, buddy.
Ciao.